Welcome to the Spark Creativity Teacher Podcast, a podcast for English teachers in search of creative teaching strategies, delivered in the amount of time it takes to cut a few bouquets of beautiful flowers in your garden or knock out that workout you've been meaning to get to. I'm Betsy Potash, and I'm glad to welcome you to episode 12, the first in a Back to School with Creativity mini-series I'll be delivering to you over the next 2 weeks. Be sure to subscribe to the show if you haven't already, because you don't want to miss any of these 5 ways to get ready for a fabulous creative year in your class. Today's episode is about 3 simple systems you can get set up in your classroom before the start of school that will help you keep students creatively engaged all year long. The next episodes will be about first day activities, secondary classroom decor, first day surveys, and building productive and friendly relationships with your fellow faculty members. So what kind of creative systems am I talking about? Today, I want to tell you about 3 simple things you can build into your routine to make your classroom a more creative space and give you some ideas for how to use them. I still remember the first day in my first year of teaching when I realized my lesson plan just was not going to take the whole hour, and I would need to invent something else to do without any prep. I did it. These 3 systems I'm going to share with you today will help you in moments like those, and they will also provide great options for planned class time too. Okay, so the first simple system you can have in your classroom is a stack of journals. So I always ask my students to bring in blank composition notebooks, and we just put them in a pile in the corner of the classroom, and they are so helpful. We use them in all kinds of situations. You can use them for goal setting, reflecting after major units or projects, creative writing, writing stories that involve vocabulary, discussion warm-ups. They can provide an activity for people who finish early. They're just really handy. And I want to give you an idea for something you can do in the first week of school to get them set up so that they're max convenient. And they will help you so much if you do this. So on the first day or the second day after students bring in their journals, ask everybody to open up to the front cover and have everybody come up with one idea for a writing prompt and write it down in their front cover. And then have them go around and say their idea, and everybody writes down everybody else's idea, and then they have 30 ideas for journal entries right there in the front cover. And it makes things really easy because anytime there's an early finisher and you just want to say do a free write, if they say, well, I don't know what to write about, you can just say, look at the 30 prompts in the front cover of your journal and do whichever one you want. That way, too, if you want to do it as an opening activity, sometime when you just need to kind of get things together for class, you've had one class go over in a 30-second passing period, and you need to get the materials ready, you can just say, okay, guys, open your journals, start on any prompt you want, choose something from your front cover or any other topic you wish, and get going. And it just eliminates that back and forth about what should we write about, we don't know what to write about, and it makes things really smooth. Another activity you can do in the smoothing outline is to have students work with partners sometime in that first week to create a little chart in the back cover of their notebook. And I call this the plot twister. So they're going to create a little chart with some columns. The columns are going to be character, setting, and conflict. And this is pretty fun. They can have as many spaces in the chart as they want, but they're just going to brainstorm a variety of characters. It can be, an old man, a young girl, a 15-year-old boy who loves rockets, a 27-year-old businessman who's trying to get a bonus, whatever. They'll be creative. They'll come up with their own characters. So they fill those in the first column. In the second column, they fill in settings, a whole bunch of different ideas. An alien planet far, far away, southeastern China, the center of Mexico City, a field, whatever. They'll think of good ideas. You don't need to worry about it. And then conflicts, big variety of conflicts. 2 people are angry because they're in love with the same person. 3 people are having a fight because they all want the same Play-Doh. Whatever. The students come up with the conflicts. And What you can use this for is just a fun creative writing springboard any old time. So it's just another free option you have. Hey, your lesson plan finished a little early. You don't know what to do. You can say, open your journals, go to the plot twister, choose a character, a conflict, and a setting, and write a story. And you never know what you're going to get. These are really fun. So I think you're going to enjoy having this option in your back pocket all year long. Okay, the second simple system that you can have set up that's going to help you out all year is to create a small zone in your classroom that's going to have maker materials. And the maker movement has been so big in the STEM side of education, but it's starting to creep over to the humanities, and I'm so glad that it is. I absolutely love this. I recently read the book Make Writing by Angela Stockman, which I would highly recommend. I think I mentioned it in another podcast episode too. But the great thing about it is it just lays out all these ideas for ways you can incorporate a maker space into the writing process. And I'm just going to share a couple of them here that you could kind of have set up in advance in your classroom to give you this option throughout the year. So one of her ideas is that many students really respond well to brainstorming tons of ideas and kind of laying them out physically. So either on small whiteboards, small chalkboards, maybe chalkboard paint on desks, tons of Post-its, index cards, this kind of thing. If you can have this available in your classroom, then anytime you're in writing process, you can say any students who want to can access the maker materials. They can lay out all their different points for a paper on Post-its and then rearrange them. Or they can come up with all the plot twists for their writing story on a personal chalkboard and then sort of erase, move things around, draw in arrows everywhere, and use that as the springboard for their writing. I think this could help a lot of students who have trouble organizing their thoughts and are really, they visualize things more physically instead of just in a secret zone in their mind. And so I love this idea of having some maker materials. So there's the sort of physical element set of maker materials like the index cards, the Post-it notes, the little chalkboards or whiteboards. And then there's this other idea she had that I want to highlight that I really love, where if you're going to do a lot of creative writing, creative projects, you can have a zone of art materials that can also be springboards for writing. So in this case, it tends to be more for creative writing. Creative writing courses, I think, would really benefit from having a makerspace with this type of materials. So her idea is that a student who wanted to write a short story about, say, a 15-year-old girl could paint the girl or could sculpt the girl or could make a beautiful chalk drawing of the girl or could make a comic book about the girl before starting into the writing. And so they would have all these incredible details that are a bit hard to pull out of nowhere. And that art would become shaped into the writing in a way that would really be amazing. And I wasn't exactly skeptical, but I wasn't sure how this would work. And I decided just to try it one day with my 5-year-old. We were just playing with magnet blocks and he had built a little house. And I just started asking him, I was like, who do you think might live in that house? And he had an immediate answer. And I got into this big conversation with him and we basically laid out an incredible story of this family of 5 people that lived in the little house, and the baby slept on these little cookies that were in the house. And then every morning she ate the cookies. I mean, he had all these creative ideas for how the story would go that I would never have anticipated. And I'm positive that if I had said, honey, can you write me a story about that house? Or, can you write me a story about a family that lives in a house? He would have just said, I don't know. Because he's not quite there in his development. But I think that could help a lot of writers to create the setting in an artistic way, or to create the character, or to create a sort of graphic narrative of the plot sequence. Anything that they're struggling with, I think the concept of these maker elements could help a lot of people get over writer's block. Okay, the third system that I'm going to suggest is that you put together a bulletin board somewhere in your classroom, or even just a table that has ideas for a writing contest students can enter. And I did a lot of research for this. I was writing a blog post about it recently, and I was amazed by how many wonderful writing contests there are out there and for students in the secondary arena. So there's the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, the National Young Arts Foundation, the American Foreign Service Essay Contest, the JFK Profile and Courage Essay Contest. I could go on, but I'm not going to bore you right now because I know you can't write these down. I'm just going to link to the whole list and the links for that list online in my show notes. And those show notes are at my website, nowsparkcreativity.com. And you just click on the podcast tab and it'll take you to a menu of all my podcasts. So you can check out all these writing contests. You can choose a few that you think would be perfect for your students and print out the guidelines for submission. And if you put these up on a bulletin board and then begin directing your students toward them, I think you're going to be amazed how pleased they are. I think students want an authentic audience. And if you give your advanced students a chance to have that, they're going to be so happy. And so when students finish early or students are excelling and they just need some more inspiration, this is just something that can help them a lot. It's easy. You can just point them toward the bulletin board that you've created before school even starts. It can also make a fantastic unit for your whole class. So this is another way that having this system in place is going to make your life easier later. When I was in high school, my whole class did the Rotary Essay Contest together, and it was one of my favorite experiences in high school. I did end up winning it, which made me feel great, of course, but lots of students in my class placed, and I think we all came away with it with this feeling that we had really done something. Our writing had mattered in the world. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to check out the show notes for further reading about starting the year off creatively, just head to www.nowsparkcreativity.com and click on the podcast tab at the top of the page. Remember, this is the first in my Back to School series of 5 episodes, so don't forget to subscribe to the show so you don't miss the next 4.